And so that's Frank Peterman, that guy. I love him. The wonderful Miss Deidre McCoy, Miss Cynthia Larimore, Professor Jean Tinney, Jermaine Webb, and Nadine. I'm so happy that you've all met these people already, so they don't need to be reintroduced to you. But the focus of this panel, and we really want the audience to be very actively engaged, is we have the law on the books that says the Secretary of the Army, which is over the Army Corps of Engineers, okay? The Army Corps of Engineers is the federal partner in Everglades restoration. We have the legislation passed by Congress that says he must assure that all people, when we talk about people of color and African Americans and Hispanics, and we're not segregating those people. We're just saying that we realize that unless we put in a component that says they have to be involved, the likelihood is very great that they will not be involved. So this is not about being black or being about Hispanic or being about whatever. It's about what will happen collectively to our ecosystem and the people and everything within it. So, who would like to kick off? Frank, you wrote the law pretty much. What would you like to see?
Thank you. I would like to see a group or a coalition. I'd like to see individuals or a coalition of organizations specifically addressing the law by getting together to get the President and the Secretary of the Army on board with clear notice of what that law requires. Because what happens is all of those people below that level do what they want to do and make reports as they want to make them. What the President and the Secretary of the Army needs to know is what you, the citizens, want, and that you are organized to press those needs at their level. When we presented, I'll give you an example. In 1997, we put on a reception at the Congressional Black Caucus so that we could generate some support for Everglades restoration among the caucus members. And since it was in Florida, Congressman Hastings and Congresswoman Meek were very instrumental in our getting that reception. At that time, the head of the Army Corps of Engineers was Colonel Ballard, an African American. General Ballard, who was an African American. And his comment was, he came to the reception and he was all bug-eyed and said, I just had to come and see. I didn't believe it when they told me that there was a reception by African Americans dealing with restoration. He was the top person in the Corps of the Army Corps of Engineers who had a great deal to do with what enforcement would look like, who was astounded that African Americans were involved in this purpose. So we have to profile this issue at the very highest level by showing community organization at the lowest level.
Cynthia, as a community organizer of long-standing, what would you say the first steps are?
We lost so much ground during the Bush administration. And I think an important part of what we need to do is reconnect with our congressional and state level allies and friends. Because we did have some and we did have many. I can remember going to a conference in South Carolina, and every time I see Representative Jim Cleric, I'm like, oh, look at him, right? Because he understood very well what we were doing, and they had just funded agriculture at a phenomenal rate, equivalent to the way that they funded defense. So I think one of the things that we really need to do is start building those paths back and reclaiming territory that we lost during the Bush administration.
Deidre, I'm sorry. Deidre, you are probably, apart from Cynthia, you are probably the person who has had the most intimate experience with the environmental justice order. Would you say for us the high points of that order and how you think it can be applied now in getting us to where we need to go?
Actually, that's a pretty strong statement. The high points of implementing the order. Actually, what Cynthia did state, I think it is essential. We cannot gloss over the point of how we have lost ground. We do need to reconnect with those who are in office. There needs to be a different approach and campaign in highlighting the issues and concerns. You brought out a very significant point prior to the panel in regards to the media and getting the information out there. I believe, and then from a grassroots perspective, and even from here, there were a number of people who approached me who had not heard of Wingate. If you are a current student in environmental studies, you should have heard of Wingate. It is well versed, it's been well documented. Nova Southeastern, Dr. Barker has done many classes in that regard. We will be remiss if we do not educate ourselves in that regard. There's more in regards to going back to your question in regards to the order. I think we do part of the campaign, the writing approach. We, even in, like I stated earlier, even with the city of Fort Lauderdale, we do have a new regime across the board. We do not have the, and hopefully as a result of a new regime, we have a new perspective of thinking. We need to pull down those stimulus monies and to activate our commissioners to ask for those monies. It has to come from the bottom up, actually, in regards to the monies to come to the particular areas. And that is probably one of the first steps. I've had the opportunity to pull the ear of our Commissioner Du Bois in regards to our charter school issue that's on the forefront. And so our current Senator Smith, Chris Smith, in regards to trying to put some more teeth in a law that states on its face that a school should not be built, because that's my current project, is a school being built to a toxic site. However, the bill has language as in the sense of, I encourage the school board to ask the EPA for a report. You encourage a child. You understand there's no teeth, there's not any effort of an enactment, there's no mandate, there isn't a penalty portionment of that. So it's huge, unfortunately, and it's that's all I can say. I'm just overwhelmed. It is very, very huge. But it is the beginning with the legislatures and getting in the forefront. And we need to have success stories, because Wingate, as you know, a lot of our people have died off. And it's been a long struggle. And personally, a lot of the people need to have some success stories. Because now we have Lincoln Park, which is an ongoing issue too, which is a little technically mother Wingate, because it was prior to Wingate, which is also an incinerator within the Negro district of Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, it is huge, and we know that the way to tackle huge is, as the president showed us so successfully, organizing at the grassroots. If each of us takes a piece, okay, and then it spreads out exponentially. We come back to that nucleus. So having established that we really, really need our elected officials, and Jermaine, having established that Congressman Hastings, who I think represents the Glades area, is very, very proactive in this arena. How do you see, do you have a relationship with him, and how do you see us moving forward?
Oh, well, yeah, I just sent Congressman Hastings an email asking him to support Ron Paul's bill, H.R. 1207, to audit the Fed, so I'm sure that got his attention. Me personally, what I'm going to do an election. First and foremost, I'm going to get informed. I'm a willing vessel, and I'm going to stay in touch with Mr. Calloway and you, Miss Peterman, and your husband, and I'm going to pick Ms. Laramore's brain a lot more on the way home and afterwards. And I'm going to learn as much as I can. And then I was already planning on doing a lecture in Belgrade called Blood Off My Hands, and taking the information that I've been blessed to receive from my elders and share it with the people in the community, as if to say, your blood is off of my hands, you know now, let's get to work. And so I'm going to incorporate the stuff that I learned today with the environmental justice component with that. And I've been given the opportunity to call in on 88.5 whenever I want to with Brother Carl. And so I'm going to impress upon him that he works with me, that he allows me to address these issues on the radio. Because like he so eloquently stated, we have ground troops, but the way you win a war is with air cover. And so we need some air forces. And I'm going to get on that radio and I'm going to go off on some people. And then I'm going to try to, raise some awareness. And hopefully from there we can impress upon South Florida Water Management District, Army Corps of Engineers, Florida Brownfield Association to get on the air with us and say, hey, we exist. Because when you said about advertising, that stuck with me. And if we can compel them to get out there and spend some of that money on an advertising budget, that's right, that's right. And so, hey, by the way, he said if I come up with $130, I can come on for a week. So maybe we can get some of these people to get some of our money back to me and I'll advertise for them. So, so that's what I plan to do. And I'm willing to help in any way I can.
Wonderful. And I want to establish that we are not Luddites in this room. It's not as though we don't use the internet. It's not as though we're not familiar with websites. We're only saying that that cannot be the primary interface, because that's a passive way to do it when we're talking about stakeholders and owners of our public land system. And I'm throwing that website idea out there so that some of the fabulous young people at FAU might begin to think, for example, how can we establish a web platform that captures what has been said here, that links up all of these entities, and that we can then communicate to our elected officials that, look, these are the issues and the concerns that we're dealing with. Now force the public servants who work for us to respond to those issues. Sorry, I went off there a little bit, but anyway. Nadine, you have radio, so you have air cover too.
Yes, I do, and we have internet radio. So one of the things that I'll take from you, because I also have learned so much here, and I think it's my responsibility to take this stuff that I've learned here to bring it to the people. Like I said, information, education, awareness. So people, sometimes they don't have the information to act. So I'm glad I was here. I learned so much. And I didn't know too much about Belgrade, and I'm sure you're going to be on the radio with me, and I'm going to take it and run with it.
How do people access your radio?
They have to go on www.oglhaiti.com and click on Internet Radio. It's every Saturday at 10 a.m., and I'm sure some of y'all will definitely be inviting you to be on the radio and spread the message, because people need to know what's going on and how it's affecting their lives.
Excellent. Deirdre, do you have a contact information that you want to give us of how people can join you and support you?
We're so new. literally, we're
You need volunteers. Make that point.
Most definitely. With Lee's Justice is so encompassing. It's LEES. And those are all acronyms, and it stands for Legal, Environmental, Educational, and Social Justice. Because the injustices that are occurred impacts us educationally, and there's a social arm of that, of the disparity. We need to have a forum to just really discuss the disparity and racism that occurs as a result of environmental racism. And locally, right now, it's really just through my cell phone, 954-696-8542. My business line is sorry. Cell phone, 954-696-8542.